It's not fucking wasp.
Well, we're in the mountains, man. You want there to be nothing? Episode 2, Primal Projects, aka Barefoot Bros. We are back talking about habits today.
Whoa. Alright, that looks cool. Probably not.
So, this is something I wanted to talk about because I've been doing a bunch of experiments with my diet, taking stuff out. So like I did like a month without coffee. I did a month without sugar. Now recently I've been a few weeks without grains.
This is what you think StrengthSide's gonna be like? This is what it's really like. Just messing with cameras. Meh.
We talked Mitch into getting those guys off. So we're all starting barefoot.
So it's like, it's made me kind of understand how much that I rely on certain things that I put in my body to kind of like change my state, to change my mood. Like one big thing with coffee is like, I love it. It's delicious. It like helps me do things better too. But also like there comes some negatives with that as well. Like it is addicting. And the more that you do it, I think the more it can kind of creep into like causing anxiety, or your sleep isn't as good and whatnot. And then pulling it out makes you really be like, whoa, okay, like this is real life without this thing I've been relying on. I know you guys have liked to like pull it out quite frequently too.
Come on, people. Don't litter on trails. One that we've had a lot of experience with, both doing it ourselves and coaching people through it, is fasting. Right? Just like intermittently fasting for a little bit longer through the morning, and you can see how your relationship with food changes by removing it for a period of time, both in the day and then doing that regularly. So yeah, I mean, it, like you can really start to understand your dependence upon things to make you feel better, or to elicit some sort of response.
Okay, it's that time. We made it 40 minutes barefoot. It's not bad. Said 30, did 40. Hey, those rocks are getting sharp, man. Always exceed expectations. But also, I'm not trying to kill ourselves out here. Dosage is key.
Yeah, and like food, coffee, like it's very sacred to people, I think, you know? So like, for instance, when I put out the video on StrengthSide talking about taking out coffee, like a lot of people responded with like, well, yeah, like sugar's not good for you, like alcohol's not good for you, but coffee, like that's fine. Like what's the problem with that? And it's like,
Coffee's healthy for you.
Yeah, a lot of people actually said that. It's been proven that coffee is.
Well, the data says.
Yeah. So I think that's actually a really interesting conversation though, because like, I think it all depends on the individual and the context. For some people, I think no issues with having a cup of coffee in the morning, like that's perfect, like maybe that is very healthy. Some people, you just start becoming more reliant on it. You need more coffee. Before you know it, you're having 3-4 cups of coffee a day.
Grindy. I still eat it.
And you feel anxious, but then you don't really like, it's like you almost, for some reason, don't make that correlation between your caffeine consumption and that anxiety that you're feeling, right? I think it's like really good to just like be honest with yourself, and like if you need something to make you feel good, then there's probably a deeper layer there, right?
It's a little bit of that frog in the pot analogy, where like you kind of keep adding a little bit more, and then at some point you're in this pot that's boiling, and like you have no idea that that's what's happening to you, and you'll double down and say like, no, this is good for me. Like this makes me sane and healthy. And so that's where I think like what you're doing is really important, is taking periods away from things and seeing what the difference is. And it has to be more than just a few days. Like you've got to give your body time to like come back to normalcy in a state while removing that thing. And man, it can really change your mind on if coffee is addictive or not, you know, or if whatever it is. Guys, act natural.
I also think that anytime that you feel that defensiveness come up in you, where like someone says something and you're like, no, I'm right, or like I know what's good for me, I think that's a really good opportunity for us to see that and feel that, and then maybe be like, okay, maybe I should try what this person is saying. Maybe I should try it on myself. And what I found for me is like that's really when I learn things.
Yeah.
Because it tests what I think I know, and usually I take something positive away from it.
I think the most important part of that people miss is the trying something new part. I think it's really easy to rationalize anything you're doing with like research or like just saying like this is normal. Other people do this.
Yeah.
But if you never give it a shot and like see what the other side is like, you'll never know for yourself.
So I'm actually really glad that you brought that up, because I don't want this to sound like I'm like preaching like, I took 1 month off coffee and none of you guys should drink coffee and it's the devil.
Big jump.
It's not like that at all. I think for the past few years, I've really resisted like taking time away from coffee. I do it here and there for a few days, but like you said, Trevor, like really you need a week, you need like 2 weeks to really get to that place where you're like, I'm living without it. And what I found for myself is that like once I did hit that like 2 weeks or so, that I was like, you know, just to be like upfront, like I was faced with like some emotional stuff that like, oh, I've been hiding away from this quite a bit by just slamming coffee down in the morning, and like there's maybe like a little bit of emptiness or sadness or something, but I can just drink coffee and I can start working and I can go work out, and like I block all that away. So it's been really enlightening to like take that reliance out and really have to just like, just sit with yourself a little bit more and like figure some stuff out on an emotional level and actually feel some things that are coming up. And I think on that note, or to kind of like change this a little bit and not just talk about like the negative side of dependency, is I think that there's like this really, really cool portion of our lives that we can actually create dependency on healthier things. We can create healthy habits for ourselves, and we can make our bodies like crave very healthy, natural things. Like today, we hiked up a mountain this morning, and like if you do it enough, like your body craves it. If you don't do it, then you think about it and you're like, oh, you see all the obstacles in the way, and you see, wow, there's a lot of resistance here because, man, I gotta drive to the trail, and then it's like early in the morning, I gotta walk and climb, like it's a lot. But if
you gotta bring the propane.
That's fun. Picnic table crushed. We freaking murdered
on
this thing.
Yeah, so if you do that frequently though, then your body starts saying, yeah, I want to get up early, I want to like hit the trail, I want to get barefoot, and I want to like feel this ground beneath my feet. And I think that's the very empowering part of dependency.
Well, what I'm hearing you say is like there's like dependencies that make you feel more, and there's dependencies that might make you feel less. And like I think what we're after is like, how can I feel more? How can I be more in my own experience? How can I feel more somatically in my body?
feel more alive.
Feel more alive.
Yeah.
Right. And coffee can make you feel more alive, for sure. But I think generally, like, moving toward things that make you feel more alive and creating those habits in your life.
Store it! Store it! Store it!
Yeah, maybe like a classic example would be like, you can make yourself crave like binging on Netflix every night. That feels very comfortable, but it also feels quite numbing. But you could also make yourself feel jumping in some cold water or walking barefoot on the ground, and that has quite the opposite effect. That heightens the senses and makes you feel more alive. Yeah.
I think this stuff is naturally harder to do.
Yeah.
At least like where we are in modern culture. But yeah, like you said, I think if you do it enough, you start to crave it.
Yeah.
It's still hard, but you crave it.
Yeah, and it's all context driven. So you can create a positive or negative relationship with anything, really. It really just comes down to like you checking yourself once in a while and trying to understand your relationship with that thing. Because even things that you guys mentioned, jumping in some cold water, doing, barefoot, going barefoot on a hike, moving, whatever, like it could also be something that allows you to avoid what's inside, right? If you're always doing something. So, I think just really like having that awareness and, being a real person about it.
Absolutely, I agree. I think for a lot of years, exercise was just it's like another form of just doing something, like you say. I think it's that way for a lot of people, right? Exercise is really, really healthy until you get to that point where it's your escape, and you're using it in maybe the wrong way. But I think like, so when I was younger, I used to like kind of scoff at challenges, like but
the whole 30, right?
Yeah, like doing something for like a week or 30 days straight or something. But nowadays I actually think it's like a really awesome way to change your relationship to something, right? It's like
or at least deepen your understanding of your relationship with something.
Exactly. Yeah. So like taking on something like, hey, like every day for a week, I'm gonna like go and get my feet barefoot like on some natural surfaces, right? Maybe you don't have to go for like a hike, but maybe just stop by your local park, get in the grass, or it's like doing the, setting a schedule to do some cold water exposure, or it's doing the Wim Hof breathing every morning for 30 days, or whatever. There's so many examples. I think that can be like a nice way in to creating this habit and getting your body to like feel comfortable there and have this sense of craving that healthier thing like we're talking about.
The number one thing that I think would stop people from doing this is just knowing that it's going to be highly uncomfortable for the first few days. So I think that's what a challenge does.
Yeah.
Is it gets you over that hump of the discomfort, and then
you're super motivated to do it.
Like you use the excitement and motivation to push through the discomfort.
Yeah.
Which then like gives you that like context that you need to say, oh, well, actually, maybe I can do this, and maybe it is good for me.
So what's kind of interesting is like, it is just this, which is really easy, but then once I take my points of contact out of it a little bit, it becomes harder, but it's the same exact pattern.
So a lot of people, you get in this state of like, maybe it's alcohol or coffee, we'll say, like one of these two, that you're like, I really should like cut back on my drinking. I shouldn't drink this weekend. But like you give in because you're in this kind of like wishy-washy state of like, I shouldn't do it, but it's what my routine is. I'm gonna do it, right? But if you set like a challenge for yourself, like, hey, I'm gonna go 30 days with no alcohol, then it's like you have a bit of that motivation, and you have this goal in mind, and you see the end. Okay, I make this week, and then I make this week. rather than relying on like your willpower in the moment.
Yeah, and you can make it tangible too. And I think this is just coming back to just like forming healthy habits, like the science of forming healthy habits, but making it tangible in some sort of way, like potentially a reward that doesn't, like has nothing to do with the actual challenge. Just like I get a little reward at the end of the week if I do this. I like buy myself something, or just the simple having an app and like checking it off daily. How gratifying is that? You guys use those at all?
No.
No.
Dude.
No, but I have
having a
had a
little
lot
mark,
of
right?
clients who do, and
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
a big,
It's quite gratifying.
Yeah, I get
to
it.
see it on a calendar, like I did this many days.
Maybe something interesting would be, does anything pop to mind of something you've done recently that you've created like a habit for a new thing, or stopped doing something?
I've been doing the ropes and the ball every day. That's easy
Yeah.
because it's fun.
Yeah.
I feel like what we're talking about might not be so fun.
Yeah, but it's something that you're changing. It's something new, and like optimally, like it will feel pretty good for you.
Yeah.
And you've just been running with that. Like this feels good, so I want to keep doing it every day. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So to give context, he's talking about like rope flow, which we've all been getting more into, and then the ball,
Balancing on a ball,
Swiss
a
ball.
Swiss ball,
stability ball.
all kinds of different stuff.
Nice. And you?
Yeah, I've been lunging every single day. That was a pretty hard one to start, but now it feels pretty good. My body like wants it too. You start to feel like
So you just do a lunge and then you
100
do that?
lunges.
Oh, 100. Oof.
100 lunges.
We'll throw that in there. Damn, yeah, that's a really good example of something that's really hard, but now it feels like your body wants it and you're more comfortable.
Yeah. Oh man, it makes this hike pretty easy.
Yeah. That could be a really good topic for maybe a following podcast of your experience with that.
Yeah, that could be cool.
Building like work capacity and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but also, I mean, I think I'm always going through cycles of like I wouldn't say restarting because it's always there, but just like recommitting to more meditation or things like that, because it's phasic. It comes, I feel motivated to do it. It feels really good, and then summer hits and I'm traveling and like things are really fun, and then I realize like, oh, this is actually something I do want to commit to. And so there's always like some sort of flux of that in my life for sure.
Yeah.
So it's always pretty fresh, this topic.
Yeah, right. Such a good point. Everything is just going in phases, and when you start putting time into like adapting these habits, then you can pull them out and then put them out and then pull them back in whenever the time seems right for you. Yeah.
You ever pull them out and put them back in?
But that's where I think like
just put them out and pull them back.
I love how you like
Pull
took
them
the
out.
time to correct yourself as if it was wrong.
Well, it's because of the hand motion I did. I don't know if you noticed that, but I said pull them out and then put them back in. So then I said put them out, pull them back in.
You can't change the hand.
that's where I think like overall try a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Like you see people doing stuff, like you think it's interesting, or maybe you think it's weird, but it like interests you in some way. Like try it and do one of these challenges, or do it for however long and see how it works for you, because maybe that's something that stays in your life, or maybe it's something that you cycle through a few times a year because you find value in it. So yeah, I guess I said that earlier. Try things. see how it works for you.
Well, and also I think another important thing to remember when you're starting something new is to there's gonna be a barrier, but keep the barrier really small to start. So instead of starting out with meditating for an hour a day, you start out with meditating for 3 minutes a day, and then you can slowly build that. I mean, that's one that I see people try to bite off too much too soon, and they get discouraged because it's probably pretty uncomfortable, if not painful, often to like try to take on too much, and then you never really know what it's like to actually do it because you quit.
Yeah, well said. Well, I'll share mine. So I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I've been doing no grains, which, to Trevor's point, like, it was actually really easy in the beginning because I was super motivated. So I I'd go to Whole Foods, I get all this food, and I'm like, no grains, baby. I'm like making all this paleo food. And then after about like 10 days of that, then it really set in for like, oh fuck, I just want some rice. I just want to have some oatmeal. Like, I remember I saw something on TV of this guy making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I was just like, dude, that looks so good. But that's been an interesting experience of watching these things come up, but then just being able to get better at being like, okay, like that came up, it's okay. Like, I don't need it. I don't need to give in to that craving immediately, you know? So, and I think that's always going to be the case when you cut stuff out. It's like you'll still get that craving. It's not like it's going to completely go away, but you get better at dealing with it.
Yeah, and messing up.
Period.
And and messing up is human.
Yeah.
So
sure.
like, just because like if you're doing a grain-free challenge and you have some grains, it doesn't mean you should stop completely when it happens. Like,
yeah,
it's okay.
If you have that peanut butter and jelly sandwich, like, that was a nice treat. Now hop
Get back
on.
in.
Yeah. That's a great point. I think that's a good one to end with. Any closing thoughts?
Now, period.
Now, period. Comment below. Let us know what you're dependent on and what kind of healthy habits that you're cultivating in your life.
And topics.
No, and want it.
No, period.
Peace.
When we step back from that needing to be right, just don't.
That's gonna sound terrible. So I want you to repeat what you just said.
In the beginning.
Yeah, go from the beginning.
Don't change a word though.
I don't change a word.
Got it.